Welcome to Free Media. I'm Robby Soave.
And I'm Amber Duke.
Well, actor Vince Vaughn praised homeschooling and slammed woke indoctrination in traditional schools during an appearance on Theo Vaughn's podcast. Let's take a look.
Everything was taught from a place for a while, like pointing out everything bad, and you can't say this, or you can't feel this way, or so much guilt education, and you're bad to feel this way or that way. And so I thought it's just too heavy, and also like just a hatred of anything. And I always, like an optimism, positive, and why not share different ideas? Why not have different of opinions and create an environment where you can talk about different things?
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot. Yeah, like kids were just feeling bad about themselves, or like we did this, or our people
Lesson
did this.
one.
It's like, what are we doing?
I'd go to my kids and say, when I would get stuff, I'd say, this is not the history of how this shit started. This is not real. We didn't invent any of this shit. So you'd have to kind of go, and that's a lot of work.
I'm a Vince Vaughn appreciator myself. I'm a fan.
I hate to tell you this, but I think Vince Vaughn is my favorite libertarian.
Oh, really? There you go.
Not Robby Soave.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Well, I like him better than I like myself as well. I laughed at many of his movies. And before this clip that we played, he also talks about how he put one of his kids, did homeschooling, Catholic schooling, did like a variety of different things. And that's the point I always make, or people at Reason make, when we talk about school choice. Like, every child is different. There are different modes of education that fit different kids. There are some kids who are so gifted and so bright they'll succeed in no matter what kind of education you give them. But for a lot of others, it fits the particular kid, how much socialization they need or desire, how much individual attention they want or desire. And that's what we're for doing, is giving parents more options to make the right choices for their kids, and it sounds like he's I know he's been an appreciator and advocate for that, and talking about how he practiced it himself.
Yeah, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts from parents of autistic children who have talked about how they were able to use school choice to sort of do like hybrid learning environments, and that's been really helpful for their kids, which I think is fantastic. And a lot of people who maybe are in like small town red America don't realize how bad the K through 12 has become.
Sure.
Like, they kind of imagine it as relegated to the university system. But even when I was growing up, I went to public school in one of those sort of small, like, red towns, or at least lean red towns. And by the time I was in sophomore or junior year of high school, I was starting to notice that things were getting a little weird. I took like a sociology class my senior year and ended up having to argue with my teacher about socialism as, a 17-year-old.
Of course.
And it's freaking absurd.
Yeah.
He used to do these like little class experiments. This is a funny story. You'll appreciate this. I wrote about it in my book too, but he brought in all of these pies one day. And he was talking about how the people with the person with the top grade in the class would get like 3 slices of pie, and the next quarter of people would get 2 slices, and it was supposed to represent, income or wealth distribution. And he was like, but don't worry, guys, if you're at the top, you can redistribute your pie to the low grade earners who didn't get any pie. And I'm like, okay, I see what we're doing here. I know what this is an allegory for. And I happen to have the top grade in the class.
There you go.
And so I kept all 3 pieces of my pie and ate all of them in front of all of the losers. He had different, it was like apple, cherry, whatever. And I was like, yep, I earned this grade, so fuck all of you. I'm eating this pie.
I think people often, their conception of homeschooling is a very only very, very, very religious people want to do this, or in some way to shield their children from the evolution or something.
Right.
I knew lots of people, people they do combined models. They might do homeschooling for the first couple of years, but then their kids do participate in the sports team of the school or whatever, and then get to high school, or they do pods. I mean, COVID showed so many Americans the contempt the public school system actually had for their child's education, where now public schools just shut down for any reason at all. There's the mosquito flying by. Let's shut down schools.
The
for the
fake
next 5 days.
tornado in DC a couple weeks ago.
Oh my God. The weather people need to be all killed. Can I say that? You're cursing up a storm, little Missy, so I'm going to wish violence on, it's not the professional weather people.
Wish violence on.
No, it's the amateur meteorologists on Twitter who are always predicting doom and gloom. There's one DC account specifically that's always like, we'll be blanketed with snow, you'll never leave your house again, and the schools actually shut down on that basis.
They did, I know, it's so bad.
They had to apologize to all of us when there was no
Was that Capital
tornado.
Weather Gang, though?
Yes, them.
So they're like the official Washington Post weather team, and they've been around for like 20 years, which makes it even worse, actually, because they're like real, apparently.
They need to get their shit together.
Yeah,
this
they
is
do.
Getting very annoying.
They do. I agree.
School needs to be open. Not that I'm like, when you're a kid, you love when you get a snow day or a tornado day.
But
and
now
there's
they
no tornado,
make it up at the end of the year, so it doesn't even.
point?
Then your summer vacation is shorter, so it's all stupid.
But it's just disruptive. Parents need somewhere, especially for the young kids. They need someone to watch the kids while they can work.
There was a Washington Post sort of investigative study of homeschooling a few years ago when it exploded after the pandemic. And there were a few things they did that were really messed up, including trying to link homeschooling to higher rates of abuse, which is just not true. I went through all of their examples, and it was like cases that the child would have been abused regardless of where they were being schooled. And their argument is, well, if they are going to school, then the people at school will notice they're being abused, which is just not accurate.
No.
Anyway, I debunked it, as I do.
Very debunked.
But the other thing that they did that was interesting and useful was they looked at the changing demographics of who is homeschooling, and they found that this current homeschooling coalition is the most ideologically religious and demographic diverse homeschooling group ever in history.
I believe it.
Because of people noticing what was happening during COVID. And so now you have people who are not fundamentalist Christians.
Right. Mark Zuckerberg does a version of homeschooling for his kids and their friends because of COVID. They started doing that and they kept doing it.
And record numbers of Black and Hispanic parents are homeschooling because they were forced to try it and realized, oh, this actually kind of works and is better.
Yeah, well, good for Vince Vaughn, calling it Theo Vaughn, the Vaughns, I guess. It didn't actually click with my head that they both have that name, even though I was saying it out loud, it's spelled differently. Complaining about the woke indoctrination, that kind of stuff, and it just goes, it can go way too far. I mean, a lot of schools do a fine job, teaching the nuances of, even I think in the traditional school system, but like, I don't remember, they act, or the woke people act like it's not taught that there was slavery or something. I'm like, that's a pretty fundamental, the Civil War and its many causes are pretty exhaustively covered both the middle school history curriculum, and then when you hit it again in high school, usually junior year, maybe sophomore year.
I feel like we talked about it every year.
You talk, in fact, because you start at the beginning of American history, you never get to the more recent stuff.
No,
you never get to the Cold War.
Yes, it's like American Revolution, you jump to the Civil War, and then maybe you talk about the Civil Rights Movement if you have time.
Yeah.
That's really the extent of it.
Yeah, and you miss about all the new history that's happening.
Yeah.
That's,
and they don't teach you that Nixon did nothing wrong. It was framed.
Is that where we've landed on that?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm with you there, but we'll argue about that at a future day.
Let's.
Thanks for watching Free Media. We'll be back in just a minute.